Hi all, and welcome back to this week's episode of the Actors Waiting Room podcast. This week I interviewed my very good friend Shelby Corley, who came over from LA to London to study acting and has now been thrust into basically the UK acting industry and what that kind of entails for her. So we have a really good in-depth chat about what the LA industry is like and what it's like to now be over here in the UK, in London, and trying to survive as a creative. It's a really useful episode and I hope you guys enjoy it. So hi.
Hi, Grace.
Thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's so exciting. And I haven't seen you in so long, so it's nice to catch up.
Yeah.
So I will introduce how we know each other. So I know Shelby from a day job. I'm not probably going to say where, but I know Shelby from a day job when you arrived about, met you like a year ago?
Yeah.
Is that right?
I think so.
And you were doing a master's, which was at Central School of Speech and Drama. Is that right or not?
It was at East 15.
East 15. We got there. For some reason I had it in my head that you went to Central. No idea why. Anyway, East 15, which you've now graduated from.
Yeah.
Exciting. And now you've been thrust out into the world of the UK acting industry.
Yeah.
And before that, before you obviously came here, you didn't have any prior experience with the UK acting industry. It was like only after your graduation and masters.
So I did a semester here in undergrad, but that was more just like training. I didn't really I wasn't in the real world yet.
Yeah. And where was that?
That was at British American Drama Academy.
Okay. Yeah, where's that one?
It's in Camden.
Okay. I feel like I should have heard of that. It sounds like something I should have heard of.
Mm.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. You did undergrad there and then you went on to do your master's.
So I did just a semester there. I did undergrad in California at University of Southern California, USC.
Nice.
And then after undergrad I worked in LA for about 2 or 3 years and then moved here.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And why did you come here? Just because?
I don't know, just for the vibes.
Yeah.
No, I really, when I did the semester here, I just fell in love with the style of training that I got here.
That's interesting.
Yeah. It was a bit more it was a bit more intensive. I think there was a bit more care for the craft.
The technique.
Yes, the technique.
Yeah.
And also it was the first time that I thought that my strengths as an actor and who I am as a person was validated and appreciated.
Oh, okay.
I didn't really get that when I was studying in LA, and I got that here. And it was also the pandemic I was trapped in my apartment in LA, not getting work, and I was I have to get out of here.
Yeah, I have to get out.
I lived in LA all my life, so it was well, I really loved it here. How do I find a way to come back?
Come here.
Yeah.
That's so cool. It's interesting that you say about the different teaching style, because I always thought that LA did it bigger and better. And I just have this idea of LA that it's bigger, better. Whereas I look at the UK acting industry as a bit more serious and a bit more a little bit pretentious. A little bit. I think that's probably just my opinion, but it's very much acting, Shakespeare, that type of vibe, and I know we do other things as well. But it's interesting, about the level of technique and care that you received here in comparison to LA.
Yeah, it just felt a bit in LA it was shinier.
Yes, that's my vibe.
Yeah. It was more about what do you look like when you're acting rather than what's actually happening
in a scene.
Yeah. At least that's how I felt.
Yeah.
And we also were training with American classics, and I just never vibed, I guess, with the characters.
Okay.
And it was more how do you fit that? How do you fit the character rather than what do you as a person and what you can do. It's more fitting into a mold. But I do see sometimes I get the pretentious feeling.
And it's not saying it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
But when you go to the National Theatre, it's the National Theatre, and sometimes I love that, and I'm I'm ready for that. But then sometimes I'm ready for something that's just a little bit more chaotic and just different and messy. Whereas some things are very uniform, I feel that the RSC is also very uniform and all these different things, and there's definitely a space and a time for that, and I love that. I really enjoy it. But sometimes you want something just a bit more alternative or a bit more just like messy, I guess. Yeah, and so you've obviously lived in LA your whole life, which is, I think that's quite unusual. But that's probably just me because I'm British. But like, yeah, there's obviously lots of people that live there the whole life. And so describe, is it really the whole like green juice, athletic, we are LA vibe that the stereotypical me thinks?
A part of it, yeah. Some of it, yeah. I think it depends on what like crowd you're in and like where in LA you're living. Like I grew up in a suburb outside of LA, so I didn't really grow up with that.
Okay.
But when I like lived in the city as an adult and I was, going to like a very expensive university and like was surrounded by like wealthy LA people,
yes. Okay.
That's when it became like surrounded by green juice.
And what is green juice? Matcha?
No. like celery juice.
Whoa.
And like ginger.
Okay.
I feel like ginger root is everywhere.
Yeah, I just feel like I couldn't love it. Do you know what I mean? Like I'd really want to love it.
Yeah.
I'd really want to be that vibe, but I don't think I could actually live it.
You can you really get sucked into it.
You're
like
you get in.
I'm like, yes, I love a smoothie.
But you must feel great, like, because obviously it's all the good shit for you.
You feel pretty good, but on the outside, like, okay, so I went back to LA last Christmas to visit.
Yes.
And like literally the second I stepped off the plane, I was like, I'm the ugliest person in the world.
Shelby, no.
It's like, oh, okay, we're back.
I
don't know. That's how I like felt.
Yeah.
On the outside, but
because
you're also like, I remember one time I lived where like walking distance within like 3 different like workout studios, but like each one was so niche. Like one was like a face sculpting stretch, like a face workout. It's called a face workout.
Okay.
There was one that was just a stretching one, but not yoga. Like they stretch you.
What?
Like they do it for you.
Oh, okay. Fine.
And then like 3 different like cycling things. So you're just kind of surrounded by like
fitness.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it's a good motivator. And I particularly, I suppose, if you're an actor, you have to like try and stay in shape, I suppose, a bit. All that stuff. But yeah, and I think, do you know what the thing is I think about LA is that I think, well, actually in America in general, because I've spoken to a couple of Americans and like they're so good at selling themselves and like making a business out of, like you're saying that people are making a business out of basically stretching somebody else's body. Like I'm sure there's many health benefits to that, some that I obviously don't know, but they are so good at like just selling themselves and making a business out of themselves. Like, and I think that's where UK actors, we're so different in that way, and we should be more like that. Do you know what I mean? But I find it so difficult to like come out my shell being like, I'm this, and this, and like, who was it? I spoke to like Brian Pataka on one of the episodes before, and he never sells himself in like an arrogant way. It's never that. It's just like fact. It's like, I can do this, and this for you. This is what I present. This is what I do for you. And yeah, I definitely think that's is that an LA culture or is that just like a general?
I think it's an American culture.
It's cool though. I like it.
Yeah, I mean, I was taught in undergrad like how, the business of acting and like tips and tricks.
But we don't get that here.
Yeah.
We don't get like the business side of acting.
Right.
We just get the technique and all of that stuff. But we at drama school we never get like, oh, maybe this is how you can create your own work, or this is how you can, do you know what I mean? Or we do, it's a tiny snippet of that.
Yeah, we had whole classes, like we had a class on social media and like how to build your like portfolio, how to like cold message agents. We had like mock agent meetings, and like we did the typecasting thing, and we did like how do you write a cover letter, and like it was a lot about like how to sell yourself. But it never felt like, hi, I'm I'm Shelby and I think
I feel like that's how we would portray it.
Right.
In the UK, we'd be like, hello, my name is Grace and I do this, and this. And it's like, no. Yeah, I mean, we did have classes on like how to contact an agent. We did have like a mock audition, but we never had the whole like, what do you do once you've graduated and the jobs aren't coming in or the auditions aren't coming in, and like, what do you do with yourself to basically keep that momentum for one, and also like strategically put yourself in positions where you can sell yourself.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, social media does an amazing job of that anyway, but if you're not really given those resources or even just shown briefly how to use it, it's, you know, you kind of get sucked up in the whole, you know, mix of all the other actors as well. And so what is like an LA casting style, like a casting room like is it much different to what you've experienced here, or?
I think I've experienced this about the same.
Okay.
A lot of it, because I entered the LA industry like right before COVID.
Right.
So I wasn't really in a physical room.
Okay.
Yet.
Yeah.
Unless it was for theater.
Sure.
So most of it has been Zoom auditions and self-tapes, and it seems like it's been the same. Mm-hmm. It's also like it's a similar way of casting. Like we have our version of Spotlight.
Okay, yeah, I was also going to ask you, what is yours called?
Actors Access.
Actors Access. Yeah, I've never known that. I didn't know what that was called. And it literally works the same as Spotlight?
Yeah, it's essentially the same, just like a different interface. But it's like, you know, if you have an agent, they have more access to more...
like breakdowns?
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't go in with your like headshot or anything like that? It's not like you bring in your headshot and you give it to them or anything like that? It's all like online, the same as we do?
Yeah. I think it depends. Like, I think a lot of musical theater, it's the like bring in your headshot.
Could you do musical theatre as well? Yes. Like, I mean, you sing, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. Would you do musical theatre?
I would here. I wouldn't. I mean, in LA, there's no theater, really.
Yeah, fine.
Not enough, at least.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would hear if it was like, I'll stand and sing. But I'm not going to be in like a chorus line, you know?
Okay, fine. Yeah, just like an ensemble member, I suppose. Fair. Yeah, because you can sing really well. So
Thank you.
Yeah, get in there.
Thanks.
Yeah, a little lead role for you. Off you go. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. So obviously LA is just literally just film and TV?
Pretty much. It's a really big like improv and comedy scene as well. Like stand up, and we have a few big like schools or, you know, houses where a lot of like Saturday Night Live people trained, or like a lot of big comedic actors trained at these schools.
Fine.
But theater wise, it's
New York is the way.
Yeah. Or like around the country, there's a lot of like really good regional
like touring.
Theater. Yeah.
Okay.
But as far as LA, like the two, you know, big theaters they're not local theaters. They're like, they cast through the country, or like, you know, bigger names, or it's touring.
Okay, cool. I remember once it was so random, and it was like during COVID, and my agent sent me a self-tape for Saturday Night Live. Okay. It was so rogue. Like, it was so rogue. And I remember... That's Jay over there. Did you not know that I had an audition for that? It was so random, and to the point where I thought, is this a joke? Because, like, why would they consider me for that? It was just so rogue. And it was during, like, COVID time, so I was receiving, like, quite a lot of self-tapes for different things. But I also thought... Yeah, if I got this part, they'd have to fly me over.
Yeah, they would.
I mean, come on, why didn't you?
Yeah.
But, yeah, and I remember, obviously, because you had to do it in, like, your bubble and stuff like that, and you couldn't do it with anything else. And I was living with a non-actor, her name's Daisy, and she's, like, a costume designer, and the most, like, quite, like, shy person. And she was just like... No, don't ask me to do this with you. And I was like, because it's improv.
Yeah.
Obviously it's improv. So I was like, no, like I've got to pretend that I'm like interviewing like a really crazed celebrity that's like way over the top, that's really demanding, that's a diva. So you need to be that so that I can react off that. And it was just like, she was like, no. And I was like, no, you've got to, because it's like for Saturday Night Live. Like, obviously, yeah. But I don't know if it's because they actually wanted a British person, or it was so rogue. And then it was like I only had that one self-tape for them, and obviously didn't get it. But I just thought,
so cool.
do you know what? But I just thought it was so weird. And then I just think, was it a mistake? Maybe the casting breakdown was just sent out to like a lot of English people when it just shouldn't have been. I don't know.
I have no idea.
It was a bit of a mystery there. It was a bit of a mystery.
Oh, but that's fun.
But I didn't really know what Saturday Night Live was like, and so when it came through first, I was like, what the hell's that?
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. And then my flatmate was like, you don't know what Saturday Night Live is? And I was like, no, not really. And so then we watched it, and I was like, how do I fit into this? Because you've got like Timothy Chalamet and like, you know, like Ryan Gosling and Ariana Grande like doing sketches and stuff like that on it, and I was like, what? Yeah.
It's so funny to hear like a non-American person describe Saturday Night Live.
What is this? Like, what is
like
this?
a series of sketches.
See? Pretentious. Pretentious. Absolutely. Yeah. And to be fair, that's the beauty of like self-tape now, is that you can audition for stuff in America, which is, you know, really, really cool. Unless they were going to film... See, I'm still pondering now. Unless they were going to actually film over here.
What, film Saturday Night Live?
Yeah. For like once... I don't know.
No.
So, casting director for Saturday Night Live... Why? Please contact me. Why was I... Usually actors are like desperate to get in the room, and I'm querying why are you dragging me into the room? That's a bit weird. But yeah, anyway, we'll get back to the normal things of this. So obviously now that you've had a bit of a brief introduction to UK acting industry, how's that been?
You know, so far,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay. Fine.
I think, like, I don't know if I'm just, like, older and wiser and, like,
Thriving.
more, living my best life and, like, more, like, I know who I am.
No, but as you get older, you definitely feel more secure in yourself.
Yeah. So I think, like, when I'm submitting and, like, getting auditions, they align so much more with me, and I feel so much more right for them than I actually did in the States. So far it's been pretty, you know, pretty okay. And I think the culture with like being a working actor here is better and actually feels a bit more down to earth.
Yeah.
I think in the States there's a lot more shame with like having to, you know, do your survival job or your day job at the same time as auditioning and you know, doing jobs, you know, like acting jobs and stuff. And I think here it feels a bit more like, well, that's what you do.
That's the whole life of it. Yeah. I think maybe that comes with like the sarcasm and the down to earth humour that we might have, or the fact that we're just a little bit more miserable, I think, than people in America. But yeah, no, I think that it's nice that there is that way, because I think when I graduated from drama school, it didn't always feel like that. I do think there has definitely been a shift in that, and particularly obviously in a place like London, because we are all literally doing the same thing. I feel like whenever I go home to the Midlands to see like my mum, like you bump into people, like at Christmas I bumped into somebody that has known me, that I used to babysit their children in the village, and like they were like, oh, and what do you do with yourself now? And I have to have the horrible conversation of being like, so, and I actually was so honest, and this might come across, it probably came across a bit rude, but I just went, so I decided to take the path of acting, and so you can do with that what you will. I was there like, and then she was just there like, oh, so you're a waitress? And I was like, you know, I work in a theatre, so close. I was there like, close. Yeah.
Almost.
Anyway, we had a good laugh about it, but I was just like, I'm so done with trying to protect like what I do. Do you know what I mean? Like, because I used to always... Sometimes I would actually say, and I do this sometimes, if people go, what business are you in? I'm like, oh, I work in a theatre. I don't actually say sometimes I'm an actor, because I also can't be asked for the whole conversation of, you know, just explaining what you do. But also, who cares really?
Yeah.
Who actually cares? Who actually cares? And no, I've not been on Netflix, or I've not like done all those, you know, big jobs or whatever.
It's always, what have I seen you in?
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Nothing.
It's really tough. Yeah, it is really, really hard. But just own it. I think, just own it. And like you said, as I've got older now, like I'm 27 now, and like, I just think I've dedicated like 5 years to this, so this is what I do now, and that's it. But I think it does help coming back to London. Like after Christmas, I came back to London, and then you're surrounded by more creatives that are all doing the same thing, and I think that's a big motivator. So like, if you're not living in London or not living in a big community of this, props to you, because that's hard to like go to the, you know, everyday person that's in their office job, and you're like, this is what I do, and What would you possibly give as advice to UK actors that possibly you have learned from LA that they could be, you know, that could maybe help them a bit?
Yeah.
If there is anything.
For working in LA?
Well, let's try here, and then we can also try like if you move to LA.
Yeah, I think it's what we talked about earlier about like confidence in who you are and like what you bring to the job.
Yeah.
I think like like obviously humility, but if you're auditioning for a job or you're like looking for an agent, like you're reaching out because like you know you're good. And so like you don't have to you don't have to pretend like, oh, like if I was to be so lucky to be, you know.
We are so like that. Oliver the musical, what is literally literally us being like, please, like begging.
I'm merely
I'm nearly an English girl trying to get a job,
asking an agent to love her. And it's like, no, you're asking because you know you're good.
That's
so just
true.
Say like, here's what I do, and I think we'd be a good fit, and let's do it. And to me, that doesn't sound pretentious or like
arrogant. No. I think sometimes you get like, when I've contacted agents in the past and I've been a bit more, I wouldn't even say forceful, I've literally just done what you've said. Like I go, I've looked on your client list and I don't think you actually have anybody like me. And actually there is definitely some truth in that, even if you haven't looked at the client list, because you are you and you are unique, and that's it. And some agents have emailed back being like, actually no, I do have a white brunette person who fits your casting ability. And it's like, yeah, but they're not me though. So, you know, and I think sometimes I used to get a bit like stung by those comments because I was like, oh, I've just kind of put myself out there and someone's been like, no, I already have like, you know, 10 of you, I don't need you as well, type thing. But yeah, I think just own it, like 100%. And
same with like your skill sets and like what you're saying. I did an audition that was for a musical, and like I said, I'm not a dancer,
but she a singer.
But I'm a singer. And they asked me like, you know, what, are you a dancer? And like, yes, I've trained in dancing. I can pick up choreography. I can't do a pirouette, you know. But I said in the audition, I was like, oh, you know, I'm just, you know, I can't really do much, you know, like apologizing already for like the level that I was at. And they were like, okay, do this, and I did it. And they were like, okay, do that, and then I did it. And they were like,
yeah, you're good.
And I was like, why did I say
why
did I say that? Why didn't I just say, oh, I have training and I'm confident in picking up choreography?
No, that's so true.
And then they can judge, and they can either be like, no, or
I remember having an agent meeting once, and they were like, so you trained in dance? And I said, yes. And they were like, and you trained in that as an actor? Yes. Do you sing? And I said, yeah, I can sing, but you're not going to put me on a broomstick and cover me in green. Like, you're not, that's not, you know, I'm not playing Elphaba. But yeah, if you need a play with song, I can sing and I can harmonise. And then, but like that type of thing as well, is like you're already selling yourself short, because I was like, well, I can do this tiny thing, and actually just say you can sing if you can, and then you work that out later on with your agent. But this was like an initial meeting with an agent, and I'm just there underselling myself, being like, I can't belt, I can't do this, don't paint me green, I can't do it, basically. And actually it was just, basically, you're an actor that can sing. Yeah, you can put me in a play with song. That's fine. That's absolutely fine. Cool. So because I've actually debated doing this, like moving to America and like trying out and like an LA scene, or maybe trying to go to like New York and stuff like that. But I mean, it's a lot when you move over, isn't it? Like it's so much to like move your whole life over. And like, how did you do it when you first came?
I don't know.
I just did it. I just was here.
Yeah, it was really scary. It was stressful. But I also, I was just so excited, and I just knew that this was gonna be a good decision. Yeah. And it kind of, the training that I was getting and just being where I was just so much more worth it. I think also just like living in LA, I was living in you have to drive 20 minutes to get to a park, and I was going to school in London, like right outside of London, like in the woods. And so there was just like green everywhere. Like I was like, my mental health is going to be so good, like despite, the stress of actually living here. So it outweighed all of like the misery of leaving your friends and family.
Because that is a big deal. Like, they're further away now. Definitely. But I mean, you can always go back. It's not like the end of the world, is it? So if I move to LA, like, what do you think would be a good pointers for me, like, if I moved?
I think you should do as many student films as you can.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We, in LA, like, the film schools there are really, really good. Have good funding.
It's kind of I don't want to say the opposite here, but student filming is much more difficult, I think, here. Like, to get funding and stuff. Well, for them to get funding and things like that. But
it especially like USC and then Loyola Marymount, like those are two really big have a really good film department, and they do get funding, and they're really big schools, so there's like a ton of like student projects. A ton. And I think that's a really, really good way to meet people, to get like a US LA credit. That would be my big tip.
God, that is that's really surprising, actually. And that kind of makes sense, because have you heard of Valerie Hubbard?
No.
So I went to the Actors Expo, I think last year, and there was a stall there, and this lady, Valerie Hubbard, was talking about it, and she spoke a lot about getting involved in student projects and stuff like that. And that kind of really lines up with your view, particularly in like LA, because here, it's not like I actually found it really difficult to get involved in student films, particularly in London, because I think there's actually less projects and less funding. And it's such a shame, because obviously they're budding filmmakers and they really want to make, some great stuff. But also at the same time, not everyone can afford to like take time off work to go do stuff that's unpaid. And so that's really interesting that you say that. And then do those credits like count towards your Actors Access? Is that what it's called? The Spotlight equivalent. What's the face?
Yeah, you can list it as but the union is a bit different in...
Yeah, because obviously like with Spotlight, you have to, I think if you've not trained at accredited drama school, you have to have I think it's 3 to 4 professional credits for you to be basically allowed to be on Spotlight.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah. So I'm wondering if it's the same.
No, so anyone can join.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, anyone can join Actors Access. The only thing is not everyone can work on certain films, because we have the SAG-AFTRA union or non-union.
Yes.
And most student films are non-union.
Fine.
It just depends. But yeah, anyone can join and start submitting, which I think is nice.
And then obviously SAG is different.
Yeah, so that is a whole, that's like the film union, the actors union. If you want to be do television or film, you have to be in the union.
So SAG doesn't cover theatre?
No.
Oh, okay. It's just TV and film. Okay.
Yeah. Actors Equity is the US stage union.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Fine.
Yeah. It's a bit confusing, and it's a lot to join either one.
Okay.
Yeah. Here, if you trained, you can join Equity.
Yes.
That's one of the ways. Yeah. That doesn't mean anything in
the
States.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. So even if you've gone to a big credited drama school, it doesn't get you entry into these. Mum, that's hard.
Yeah, so it's one of those things where you have to do a SAG film in order to join SAG, but you can't do a SAG film unless you are
in SAG.
Yeah.
What?
It's a bit ridiculous. There's a bunch of rules, and you can do one way that you can get like a credit is to do extra work, so you have to have a certain amount.
Okay.
It's
so extra work does count towards SAG. Some things do, some things don't.
Yeah.
So it depends on the project, right? And can you be an extra in a SAG credited like film?
Yeah.
Without being in SAG?
Yes.
Right. Wow. Okay. Fair.
And it's a similar thing with theater, with Actors Equity, is like you have to do an equity show to join. It used to be where it's a similar thing where like, but you have to be equity in order to do it. But they've recently changed the process, and it's if you've been in an equity show, if you get cast in an equity show, then you have like there's a special way that you can then just join. But it used to be something where you would have to like get credits or like do an internship. And,
oh God.
Yeah.
And like, I'm guessing that really limits you to the auditions that you get as well, because especially for like theatre, I reckon that they're like, oh, we only want equity members.
Oh yeah, I've never done like the audition circuit in New York.
Yeah.
But of course, like they, with the Broadway shows and like with the equity shows, they see equity first. Like even with the open calls, it's just for equity actors. A bunch of like non-union actors obviously want to like go on audition, so you can sign up.
And it's not like they're not talented.
Yeah,
like, obviously, yeah,
it doesn't mean.
Oh God.
So you can like sign up to like on the list to try to be seen.
Yeah.
But if they have like, but that like it's if you're very lucky, so you could like sit at an open call.
Yeah, that's what I say about an open call.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can sit there for like 12 hours and they're still seeing equity actors.
Oh God, my heart goes.
Yeah, and then maybe they're like, no, we're not going to have time to see non-union today, or they'll see like the first 2 non-union actors on the list. It's
wow. That's got to change, surely. Yeah. That's got to change. God. And do you think that's probably why Americans also come over here? Because it sounds a little bit easier.
It is
here.
a bit easier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it does. Like, if you get into, I mean, still getting into a drama school is like a hard feat anyway. I get that. And not everyone can. But, you know, if you do get into a drama school here that's credited, you can literally end up on Spotlight as soon as you graduate.
Yeah.
Like, that's just how it works. Oh, my God.
Yeah. But on the other hand, like, with getting representation in the States, or, like, you can still submit for projects and not like have to have gone to
a big school.
Yeah, like you can have zero training, like formal training.
This is another thing that I was going to ask you that I'm also interested in. I feel like here we have quite a rigid structure in how you get into the industry, and you know our industry is obviously a lot smaller than yours is in LA, because you know we're much smaller. But in terms of like, you know, the path that most people do is that you audition for drama school, and then that's kind of how you end up getting your agent, because you say that you've been to either like Central School of Speech and Drama, or you've been to RADA, you know, all these like very big top drama schools, and then that's kind of what piques the interest of kind of the bigger tiered agents, because you know there's a certain expectation that comes with if you get into those drama schools, because the training is supposedly supposed to be one of the best. Right. So I feel like that is kind of the only downside that we have here, is that, you know, and not all agents care about that, they don't, but you know, it's a pretty sure safe bet that if you've been at RADA or if you've been at Central, you know, you're going to end up with quite a big agent, because they have, you know, very good connections into the industry already. But I feel like in LA there's a lot more middle tier maybe, and like, I don't know, there's just a lot of variety there, I think, or more variety there, so that you can just go and dip in, and it's obviously more accepted that if you haven't trained you can still go and do that. That's crazy.
Yeah, anyone can be an actor.
Anyone can be an actor or creative. Do it. Yeah.
I did have someone once who, like, it was after I'd finished training in undergrad, and I was like, you know, just starting out, auditioning, not really getting anything. And someone was visiting LA, thinking about moving there from, I think Utah, another state, and was not actor or like creative person. And he was like, I think I'll be an actor. I think it would be fun. I think it would be fun to be an actor and try it. I think I might try that. I think I might like just try it. And like part of me was like, you know, I'm sure you can.
I've trained my whole life for this. Yeah, no.
It's fine. But then also it's like, but yeah, you could like,
but you could.
You absolutely could like get an agent without that, without training, and like just get your training with project. Like,
is the knowledge more forthcoming out there than it is here? Because I feel like, you know, if I hadn't trained where I went, or if I didn't go to a drama school and all that stuff, I wouldn't have a bloody clue where to start at all. Like, at all. And there's no knowledge of how to get into the industry unless you already know somebody that's in the industry.
Right.
Is like the knowledge forthcoming a bit more, or is it a bit more forthcoming?
I think I had a bit of an edge coming here, having worked and trained in LA just about like how to be
in the industry.
Yeah. And I think that did come from like my classes in school, and like because we learned and got practice of how to reach out and stuff, but also just being thrust into it and learning as you go. It was a bit easier in terms of like there was more, how do I say this, like more understanding of like learning on the job.
Yeah, I'm with you. Nice. Okay, then my last question is just going to be, what advice would you give to any creative?
Okay.
My time to shine.
Yes, here we go. I think it's such good advice about like find something else that makes you happy.
Yeah.
I think something that I'm trying to do is find a creative outlet or hobby that I'm bad at.
Oh, okay.
That's like very low stakes, but still like fuels me. Because I think a lot of things with like creative things that I like to do, the first thing that comes to mind is like, okay, how can I get better at this so I can put it on my CV as a special skill?
Yes.
And like, how does this make me more
different?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like improv and like, you know, dancing, and should I pick up the guitar?
Yeah.
So that I, but I think like do something that actually like you're not good at, that is just like
for you.
Yeah. Like I really like arts and crafts, and like
nice.
I bought some clay and I'm making little magnets.
Oh, okay.
And they're so ugly, but
amazing.
But it's like it's just for me.
Yeah.
And it's fun, and it like fuels me creatively, but I can be bad at it, and that's fine. And I'm never gonna put like a clay maker on my CV.
That is so true. That is so true. It is always a skill for the spotlight, but I gave up on that a long time ago. I did, because I was like, I got too overwhelmed with the possibility of what skill I could get better at. And then also you are then being like, well, I have to be an expert in it if it's going to be on my CV.
Exactly.
Because if balloon animal making is not, it's not the thing that is, expert, then they're not going to cast me as a clown in the next thing, or like you get so wrapped up in all of these different things. But and
then you like lose the joy of actually doing it.
Because
you're so silly.
It feels like a chore.
No,
that's so true.
And then on the other hand, I think you should also do something that is a little bit more high stakes that you also will be bad at, like you can fail at. Like something I want to try doing, because I really don't want to do it, is stand up.
Oh my god, that's terrifying.
I know, right? Like, can you like the thought of like being funny and people not thinking I'm funny? Like
that's I think that's the most like the bravest profession ever. I just think that's so scary.
Yeah. But I want to try doing something like that, like really outside of my comfort zone.
Yeah. I mean, I reckon you'd have unlimited amount of confidence after that.
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah, like there's no way you could ever feel nervous about going into an audition room and doing something wrong ever again.
Yeah.
It's like, wow.
Well, I should really take my own advice. Yeah.
Let me know. Oh my god. I actually think you'd be very funny, so you'd be alright. Yeah, you'd be fine. Oh my god, let me know.
Yeah, come to my show so that you can...
I'll be like, ha ha ha, in the
Thank
background.
you.
Yeah, really, really laughing.